It was an ordinary evening when I got home, expecting the usual routine. I had planned to kick off my shoes, grab a quick dinner, and maybe relax with some TV to wind down. But as soon as I stepped through the door, something felt off. The air in the house was different, almost hollow. It wasn't until I entered the living room that the truth hit me. The framed photos we had displayed from holidays and vacations were gone. My heart skipped. I rushed to the bedroom, throwing open the door. Her closet was half empty. Clothes that had been neatly hung just hours earlier were nowhere to be seen. The drawers where she kept her jewelry and makeup were completely cleaned out. The bathroom was no better. Her toothbrush, skincare bottles, everything personal gone. It was as if someone had removed every trace of her presence in a matter of hours. I stood there frozen, staring at the glaring absence of her things. My first instinct was to call her, but as I reached for my phone, I hesitated. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe she had left in a hurry, due to a family emergency or something important. But deep down, I already knew this wasn't the case. I finally worked up the courage to dial her number. It rang, and then went to voicemail. I tried again and then again. Each unanswered ring tightened the knot in my stomach. By the fourth attempt, I knew she wasn't going to pick up. I texted her simply, "Where are you? What's going on?" There was no reply. The hours ticked by as I sat in that eerily quiet house, every noise amplified by the silence. I paced the living room, replaying the last few days, weeks, even months, searching for any signs I might have missed. Had we argued recently? Was there something I said, or did that push her away? Nothing stood out. I started calling her friends and family, but no one knew or claimed not to know where she was. Most were genuinely surprised, while others avoided the question entirely. That only made my mind race even more. Was this planned? How long had she been thinking about this? At one point, I noticed our wedding album still sitting on the shelf. My chest tightened as I opened it, flipping through the pages. There we were, smiling and holding hands, looking like nothing could ever come between us. It felt like a cruel reminder of how much things had changed, and I had no idea why. By midnight, exhaustion took over, but sleep didn't come easily. My mind kept playing tricks on me, whispering worst-case scenarios. Was she okay? Did something happen to her? Or was this all intentional? I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that whatever was happening was far bigger than I could understand at that moment. The next morning, I woke up hoping it was all some bizarre nightmare. But the empty closet and missing photos were very real. I sent another text, this time more desperate. "Please just tell me you're okay. I need to know what's happening." Again, no response. I spent the entire day in a fog, unable to focus on anything. Every noise outside made me jump, thinking it might be her coming back, but she never did. The house, once filled with her laughter, her scent, her presence, now felt like a stranger's home. I had no answers, no clues, and no direction, just the cold, hard fact that my wife, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, had vanished without a trace or explanation. And I was left to pick up the pieces alone. 2 days passed in a blur of confusion and anxiety. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart leaped, hoping it was her. Finally, some kind of explanation. But each time, it was a false alarm. Spam calls, work notifications, or concerned texts for friends I had told about the situation. The silence from her end was deafening. It gnawed at me, filling my head with countless scenarios, each worse than the last. On the second evening, as I sat at the dining table staring at the untouched plate of food in front of me, my phone lit up. Her name appeared on the screen. My stomach turned as I grabbed it, fumbling to unlock it before the notification disappeared. It was a text message. I opened it immediately, my breath catching in my throat. "Enjoy your house in rotten loneliness." For a moment, I thought I misread it. I stared at the screen, waiting for something more, a follow-up, an apology, an explanation. But nothing came. Just those 9 words, cold and venomous. My hands trembled as I read it again and then again, hoping to find some hidden meaning, some hint of sarcasm or anger that might make it less cruel. But it was as blunt as a hammer. What kind of person says that after years of marriage, shared dreams, and promises? How could she reduce everything to this? My initial reaction was shock, but it quickly morphed into anger. I slammed the phone down on the table, the sound echoing through the house. She had stripped me of any chance for closure. No conversation, no reasoning, just a dagger of a message in silence. Questions flooded my mind. Was this her way of justifying what she'd done? Was she blaming me? I thought back to our time together, trying to piece together how someone I trusted completely could harbor this level of resentment. Had I been blind to her unhappiness? Or was this just an excuse for something else entirely? I debated replying to the text, crafting dozens of responses in my head. Some were desperate pleas for clarity. Others were laced with the anger bubbling inside me. But each time I stopped myself. If she had the audacity to send that and nothing more, what good would my words do? She clearly didn't care. That night, I barely slept, her message looping in my mind like a broken record. It wasn't just the words. It was the finality of it all. She didn't just leave. She wanted to hurt me. And it worked. The next morning, the anger subsided, replaced by a hollow ache. I sat in the living room, staring at the space where our wedding photo used to hang. Her text had given me something I didn't have before: certainty. She wasn't coming back. Whatever had driven her to leave was more than a fleeting impulse. She had made her decision, and she didn't want me to understand why. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this. People don't just walk out like that without a deeper reason, without something or someone pushing them to do it. As cruel as her message was, it left me with an unsettling realization. I didn't know her as well as I thought. And that realization was almost as painful as her words. The house felt even emptier now, every creak and shadow reminding me of her absence. But this time, the silence wasn't just void. It was hostile, as if her words were echoing through the walls, wrought in loneliness. I didn't know what hurt more, the fact that she left or the thought that maybe, just maybe, she truly meant every word. The days after her cruel message were a strange mix of numbness and obsession. I told myself I wouldn't keep looking for answers, that I should let it go. But my mind wouldn't let me rest. Something wasn't adding up. The abruptness of her departure, the venom in her words. It felt too calculated, too rehearsed. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I had to know why. Not for her, not to fix things, but for me. I couldn't move on without understanding what had really happened. I started where anyone would, her social media. At first, I felt ridiculous, like some desperate teenager stalking an ex's profile. But the more I scrolled, the more I noticed little things I had overlooked before. Over the past few months, her posts had shifted. Fewer photos of us together, more nights out with friends, vague captions about freedom and new beginnings. None of it had seemed odd at the time, but now, in hindsight, it painted a picture I couldn't ignore. Then, I stumbled upon a tag. A friend of hers, someone I barely knew, had posted a group photo from a night out. There she was, smiling carefree, with her arm around another man. I didn't recognize him, but the way they stood close, their body language, wasn't friendly. My stomach dropped. I clicked through the friend's profile, following the breadcrumbs, and soon, I found more subtle comments, private jokes between her and this stranger, all hiding in plain sight. My pulse quickened as I pieced it together. This wasn't something new. It had been going on for months, maybe longer. While I was busy thinking everything was fine, she was building a life behind my back. It wasn't just a betrayal that stung. It was the effort she had gone to hide it. She had scrubbed any obvious traces, but there were still digital crumbs left behind. Little glimpses into the double life she'd been leading. And suddenly, her message made more sense. Enjoy your house in rotten loneliness. She didn't leave because she was unhappy or because of something I did. She left because she had already moved on. As the realization sank in, my anger flared again. I thought back to the times I'd stayed late at work to give her space, the times I'd gone out of my way to make her happy, oblivious to the fact that she was already checked out. How long had I been nothing more than a placeholder to her? But anger wasn't enough. I needed proof, something tangible to confront her with. Not that I thought it would change anything, but because I needed to feel like I still had some control in this chaos. I logged into an old tablet we used to share, praying she hadn't logged out of her accounts. To my surprise, she hadn't. What I found there ripped the bandage off entirely. Messages between her and the man from the photo. Intimate, mocking, detailing their plans to be together. One stood out, dated weeks before she left. I'll tell him soon. I just need to figure out how to make him hate me, so it's easier. The words hit me like a freight train. She had orchestrated everything, even the cruel way she left. It wasn't enough for her to move on. She wanted to destroy any possibility of me finding peace in her absence. I stared at the screen, a storm of emotions raging inside me. Betrayal, anger, humiliation. They all fought for dominance. But beneath it all was a bitter clarity. The person I had loved, the person I thought I knew, didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did. It wasn't closure. Not yet. But it was something. I finally had answers, even if they weren't the ones I wanted. And as painful as it was, it meant I could start letting go of the version of her I'd been holding on to. She had made her choice, and now I had to make mine. I don't know what I expected to feel after uncovering the truth. Part of me thought the anger would burn itself out, or that the betrayal would eventually dull into something manageable. But in reality, it was like carrying around a weight that wouldn't shift. Every time I thought I could breathe, another reminder would drag me back down. I was learning to live with it, or at least trying to, when the unexpected happened. 2 weeks after she left, I was sitting at home, staring blankly at the TV, trying to lose myself in something mindless. That's when my phone buzzed. The number was unfamiliar. Normally, I wouldn't have answered, but something told me to pick up. "Hello," I said, my voice heavy with exhaustion. There was a pause on the other end, followed by a hesitant voice. "Hey, I don't know how to start this, but you don't know me. My name's Mark." The name didn't mean anything to me at first. But then he added, I'm the guy who's been seeing your wife." For a moment, I didn't speak. My mind was racing, trying to process what I just heard. I thought about hanging up, but curiosity, or maybe masochism, kept me on the line. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice colder than I intended. He sighed. I could hear the nerves in his voice. "Look, I'm not calling to gloat or anything. I didn't know who else to talk to. Things with her, they're not what I thought they'd be. She's not who I thought she was." It felt surreal hearing this man, this stranger, complain about the woman who had blown my life apart. Part of me wanted to laugh, but I didn't. Instead, I listened as he continued. "She's been acting erratic," he said. "One minute she's sweet and loving, the next she's screaming at me. Me, over nothing. She told me she left you because you were controlling, but now I don't know. She twists everything. Nothing's ever her fault. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells all the time." The irony was almost too much to bear. Here he was, the man she'd left me for, realizing the same things I'd spent weeks agonizing over. But what struck me most wasn't his complaints. It was his tone. He sounded defeated. Scared even. I thought she wanted to start fresh with me. He admitted, his voice cracking slightly. "But now I'm starting to think she just wanted to run from her problems. She blames you for everything. But man, I don't know, it feels like she's been lying to me too." Hearing those words should have felt like vindication, but they didn't. If anything, they made me feel worse. I had spent so much time blaming myself, wondering what I had done wrong. And now here was this guy, someone who should have been enjoying the honeymoon phase of their relationship, telling me it wasn't me at all. It was her. He went on to describe how their relationship was already unraveling. The arguments, the manipulation, the way she would pick fights over the smallest things. "I think she's using me," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "And I don't know what to do." For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. What was I supposed to say? "Welcome to the club. I told you so." But as much as I wanted to lash out, I couldn't bring myself to do it. He sounded broken, like a man who had walked into something he didn't understand and was now paying the price. "I don't know why you're telling me this," I said finally, "but if you're looking for advice, all I can say is get out. Don't wait for it to get worse, because it will." There was a long silence on the other end before he spoke again. "Thanks," he said quietly. I thought you should know. She's not what she seems. She's dangerous." When the call ended, I sat there for a long time, staring at the phone in my hand. His words echoed in my mind. "She's not what she seems." I had spent so much time trying to understand what went wrong, try to find the cracks in our relationship. But now it was clear. The cracks weren't mine. They were hers. And for the first time since she left, I felt something other than anger or sadness. I felt relief. Maybe I wasn't the problem after all. After the call with Mark, I knew I couldn't avoid her anymore. I'd spent weeks trapped in my own mind, trying to piece together what went wrong. But hearing his side of the story lit a fire in me. She had wrecked my life and was now doing the same to his, spinning the same web of lies and manipulation. It was time to face her. Not for closure, not for reconciliation, but for answers. I needed to hear it from her. I waited a day to steady myself, rehearsing what I wanted to say. I wasn't going to yell or lose control. I wanted to keep the power this time, to be calm and calculated, everything she hadn't been. Finally, I texted her, "We need to talk in person." No excuses. To my surprise, she replied almost immediately, "Fine. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. at the coffee shop on Maple." The next day, I arrived 10 minutes early, sitting at a corner table where I could see the entrance. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to focus. I wasn't there to rehash the past or beg for explanations. I just wanted the truth, no matter how messy or ugly it was. She walked in a few minutes late, looking as if she hadn't a care in the world. Her hair was perfect, her clothes immaculate. It was as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't torn my life apart and left me to pick up the pieces. She spotted me and walked over, her expression unreadable. "So," she said, sitting down across from me. "What do you want?" Her tone was casual, almost dismissive, and it lit a spark of anger in me. But I kept my voice steady. "I want to know why," I said. "Why you left the way you did. Why you felt the need to destroy everything instead of just being honest." She rolled her eyes, leaning back in her chair. "Oh, come on. You already know, don't you?" she said. "You've been digging around, stalking me online. I'm not stupid." Her deflection didn't surprise me, but it didn't deter me either. "I know you were seeing someone else. I know you planned all of this. But what I don't understand is why you felt the need to make me the villain. You couldn't just leave. You had to make me hate you first." For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she sighed, leaning forward. "You really don't get it, do you?" she said. I was miserable every single day, pretending to be happy in a life I didn't want. It wasn't about you. It was about me." Her words hit like a slap, but I didn't let it show. "So you were miserable, and instead of talking to me, you decided to cheat, to ghost me, and leave me with nothing but a spiteful message. That's your solution?" She shrugged, her expression cold. "You wouldn't have listened. You would have tried to fix things, to drag me back into a life I didn't want. I had to make it final." Her indifference stung more than anything else she'd said. This was the woman I had loved, the woman I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. And here she was, acting as if I was nothing more than an inconvenience she discarded. "Do you even feel guilty?" I asked, my voice low. She hesitated for the first time, her mask slipping just slightly. "I don't know," she said finally. "Maybe, but guilt doesn't change anything. I did what I had to do." Her answer was hollow, but it told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't sorry, not for the pain she caused, not for the lies, not for the chaos she left in her wake. She had justified it all in her head, and nothing I said would change that. I stood up, pushing my chair back. "I hope it was worth it," I said, my voice calm despite the storm inside me. She didn't respond, just watched as I walked away. For the first time in weeks, I felt lighter. The confrontation hadn't given me the closure I thought I wanted, but it had given me clarity. She wasn't the person I thought she was. She hadn't apologized, hadn't given me the kind of closure you see in movies. But I'd stopped expecting that the moment I sat across from her. What I got instead was clarity, painful, unvarnished clarity. And with that, I knew it was time to take back control of my life.